All right, I give you the field or Kentucky to win the national champion. What do you take?
I would have taken Kentucky at the beginning of the year, and I think I would still do that. I just think they're the best team. That doesn't mean the best team always wins. It doesn't. But they're a little bit of a different animal than I think we've seen in a while. And they're not the best offensive team you've ever seen, but they are as good a defensive team as I can remember. And I don't know that the teams that they're going to play in the tournament are going to be able to score enough points against them. I think Kentucky's going to have to play poorly in order to lose.
Now, is this team at the level of Georgetown and UNLV and those types of teams over the last 30 years?
That's hard to say. I think I don't believe so, just because the game is so different now. I mean, those teams were all kind of junior and senior dominated teams in a landscape that was full of junior and senior lottery picks. We don't have that anymore. It's just a different time. But in the time that we're in maybe the last 15 years, there's not been a team that I can recall that's been quite like this. Like, I think the North Carolina team in 2009, I think would give this team a really hard time and probably beat them, or at least have a very good chance to beat them. I think the Kentucky team at 2012 could beat this team, but none of them are as good defensively. They're just better offensively. And a lot of times, you kind of look back, the teams you were talking about, like in 90, 91, the UNLV team, and then the Georgetown teams of the 80s, the game was different then because it wasn't the same kind of physical contest that it is now, and you couldn't get away with what you can get away with now. So it's a little bit different in that regard, but defensively, I can't think of anybody in the last dozen years or so, 15 years, that's the equal of this one.
Jay Billis is with us. Jay, I know you love the college game. Is this good for the college game? Because I always say when the Yankees are great and there's the king has to be shot down from the mountain, that's good for the sport. Do you think this is good?
I think it's great.
You do?
I mean, I think it's great to have a dominant team. And, when North Carolina was dominant in 2009, I don't remember anybody, turning their TV sets off. And we've had dominant teams. We had 4 number 1 seeds go make the Final Four in 2008. And a lot of people remarked that was the best Final Four we've had. And so it just kind of depends on we're always going to have upsets, and it has nothing to do with the NCAA tournament. It has nothing to do with college basketball. That's the way sports are. And it's funny how when all these sports have opened up, how we see the fact that sports are volatile. So when the NFL has a wild card, the wild card wins the Super Bowl. When the Major League Baseball does it with a wild card, the wild card wins the World Series. After listening to all these years of the college football people tell us that we never have a playoff, and it's ridiculous, and the sport will never have a playoff. They have a playoff the first year, and the 4th team wins. So, if they open it up to 8, the eighth team would win, once in a while. It's just the way sports work.
All right, give me your thoughts on Notre Dame sitting at the 3, huge win over North Carolina, taking the conference. Is that a dangerous team, especially in the West?
Yeah, because they can score. I think Notre Dame's improved defensively. It's not a great defensive team. They're a little bit small on the backboard, so they're vulnerable to teams that can really rebound. But boy, that's a team that can spread you out, and they really move the ball, and they're good in transition. To have multiple scorers is really a luxury that not a lot of teams have. And they really move the ball. I mean, it's really fun to watch them because the ball doesn't stick in anybody's hands. So when the ball may be in the left corner, and in 4 passes it'll be in the right, it'll be a wide open shot from the right corner, and you wind up going, how beautiful was that? They're really a pretty team to watch. Not pretty in a soft way, but it's a beautiful brand of basketball to watch.
All right, is there a sleeper team in this field that you go, not that many people think of this, but this is a team that could be in the Final Four?
There are a bunch of teams that could be in the Final Four, and I'm sure that we'll look back if somebody crashes the party as like a 7 seed or something like that happened last year with UConn. I don't really look at Kentucky. It's funny. Everybody says, "Well, last year we had a 7 and 8 seed. That got into the tournament, they got in the finals," and it shows the parity. When you're relying on UConn and Kentucky as the little engines that could get into the final, I'm not really moved by that. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Baylor get in there. It's possible, but I tend to think that this is a year where the bubble was really soft. And the teams at the end of the line, frankly, just aren't very good. They're capable of playing okay, but they're not very good. And so that's why there wasn't a lot of controversy at the end of the line, because some of these teams hadn't beaten anybody because they're not capable of beating anybody. We've got more teams this year that have lost double-digit games. This ties the record for the most 10-loss teams. 31 teams in this tournament have 10 or more losses. That ties the record that was set in 2011, and you guys remember what a lame year that was.
Right.
And it was a bad year for college basketball. The teams weren't that good, and then it wound up being a really bad tournament. And I don't see a bad tournament this year because there's more strength at the top than there was in 2011. If you remember, 2011 was when UConn beat Butler in one of the most forgettable Final Fours in history. And I don't see that happening this year. I just think the teams at the top are much stronger than they were that year. But there is like kind of some softness from the middle down.
Jay, if Lavin decided to wait on the Obekba suspension, would that have been unethical to you?
No. We see this kind of thing a lot where a program will let or a league will let the committee know something that may be going on, not necessarily on the suspension front, but maybe on an injury front, and we just don't hear about it. So, it's not that, I think it's great that Steve did this, but, this kind of thing has happened before. It just hasn't been publicized. So it's not that we have one ethical coach and a bunch of rat finks that are running around trying to keep everything a secret. I think it's really nice that Steve did this, but I think there are a lot of coaches that would have done a similar thing.